Neglected by his family and village, Naruto leaves for a year and comes back completely different. This wonderful fanfic is written by Hi Carl. All credits go to him. Now, before we get into the video and you guys get the normal intro, I want to quickly describe how this story is going to go. So Naruto is going to have two siblings, and his siblings get half of the nine tail each, and it is sealed by Sarutobi. Kushina and Minato get to live. They neglect Naruto as a child. Naruto leaves the village for 1 year and trains with a super strong swordsman. Like, I'm talking about OP levels of swordsman, and he becomes kind of OP. There will be a ship, but I don't want to spoil it, so I'll let you guys get it yourself. Hey, it's Quadix here. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, comment Q or any other comments you may have. The link to the Discord and my Instagram will be in the description. Check them out. When this video gets to 500 likes, I'll upload the next part. Roll the intro. Konohagakure no Sato. All hell had broken loose as the most powerful Biju in existence, the nine-tailed Kyuubi, was attacking the village of Konoha. The Kyuubi was about to destroy another district of the village when it noticed a figure on top of a tower. Standing ready to face the beast was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. As he stood, he looked at the two infants that would receive the power of this incredible beast while it neared him. He thought back at how his replacement, Minato Namikaze, tried to argue to let him do what was about to be done. He chuckled and watched as the Kyuubi came closer. For some odd reason, his thoughts drifted to the infant not being involved in this ritual, Naruto. Before he could gather any more thoughts about the baby, the Kyuubi roared and went to slash at Sarutobi with his claws. Smiling, Hiruzen made one last hand sign and let the death god, Shinigami himself, arise to take his soul, and the Kyuubi's chakra saving the village. As Hiruzen died, his last thought once again lingered on the firstborn child of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto. Chapter 1. In the backyard of the Namikaze's estate, Minato Namikaze and his wife Kushina Uzumaki were teaching their son Menma and daughter Narumi the different techniques in their arsenal. While the training was serious, the family was enjoying its outing as any complete family should. The only problem was that the family wasn't complete. Staring at the perfect family from his room window, 10-year-old Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze sat watching and letting thoughts of the past resurface. Flashback 3 years ago. Naruto sat with his brother and sister beside him, anxiously waiting for his parents, who had told them they had a big announcement. His mind was going crazy, just thinking of what it would be, but deep down, he knew what the announcement was. Their training would begin today. This would be a welcome change because lately his life had been going downhill. Naruto started to realize that his siblings once were taking precedence over his all day, every day. He at first believed he was just overthinking things, but soon discarded that after seeing how the villagers treated his family with respect but ignored him. The very same could be said about his godparents. Dry would come by when he could to see his godchildren and teach him a few things while he was there. He spent most of his times with Menma and had stated on many occasions that he couldn't wait until he could take him as an apprentice. Not once had he spoken to Naruto. Tsunade lived in Konoha and worked as the head of the hospital, so she made an appearance much more often but spent her time mostly around Narumi and treated her the same way that Jiraiya treated Menba, another godparent that had never spoken to Naruto. Minato and Kushina walked into the room, bringing Naruto out of his thoughts to make their announcement. Minato stepped forward and spoke. "Now kids, your mother and I have discussed this and we both feel that it is time for you to teach you your family techniques and begin your training. I will train you in ninjutsu and taijutsu, while your mother will train you in the use of chakra chains, kenjutsu, and controlling the Kyuubi's chakra. He finished with a smile, quickly turned to a frown as his oldest son raised his hand. Yes, Naruto? Minato asked disinterestedly. Naruto frowned for a second at his father's tone but continued. Will I be involved in this family training too? He asked. Minato turned to look at Kushina, who frowned, and then back at Naruto. No, Naruto. You will wait until the academy and learn the basics there. Your siblings have to learn to control the Kyuubi's chakra, so we won't have time to teach you as well, he answered, making Naruto emotions begin to rise. Well, what about having a clone teach me? Or leave me a scroll or something? Naruto, stop. Your father and I decided this together. You will wait until the academy, is that clear? Asked Kushina harshly. Naruto curled his fist and nodded silently. End of flashbacks. That moment in his life showed him that his parents cared more for his brothers and sisters, but it was another moment that showed him that they simply didn't care about him. Flashback. Namikaze triplets' 10th birthday. Naruto was sitting in a back corner of the living room, watching as all of the guests conversed and gave their presents to his brother and sister. After so many years of the same old thing, it didn't affect Naruto as much, but it still hurt. To know that he could die and no one would care was a horrible realization that Naruto just wasn't ready to accept. At least not yet. All the guests stopped talking when their Hokage and his father stepped forward. I would first like to thank everyone for coming to my children's birthday party. I believe that my sensei Jiraiya and Tsunade have something for you two before I make my announcement, he said, looking at Menba and Narumi while moving to the side. Everyone watched as both Jiraiya and Tsunade walked towards the two with large scrolls in their hands and smiles on their faces. Menma, I watched you grow up, and I am proud to be able to offer you the Toad contract, which will help you immensely with your future career as a shinobi, he said, with a smile, handing the contract to an excited Menba. Immediately afterwards, Tsunade walked up to Narumi. Narumi, you will be a great ninja in the future, and I would be honored if you would sign the slug contract to help you in your future career, she said to Narumi, who practically snatched it out of her hands. After all the clapping and cheering was done, Minato stepped up. Now, I have an announcement that affects both of you. As of now, Narumi will become the heir to the Uzumaki clan, and Menma will become the heir to the Namikaze clan, he finished with a smile next to his wife. Before anything could be said or anyone could cheer, the sound that broke the brief silence was that of glass breaking, as everyone looked back to find the source of the sound. They were surprised to see Naruto with the broken glass being held tightly in his hands and a look of pure rage on his face. Saying nothing back, he stomped up to his room and slammed the door. The party resumed shortly after. End of flashback. It was now nighttime, as he had spent all day reminiscing about his past. Chuckling, he thought that it was a bit ironic that all the memories he had of this place would make it easier to initiate his plan to leave. It was now midnight, and everyone was sleeping. Naruto sneaked out of his house and headed for the gate. He had planned everything out. All he had to do was escape the clan compound, which was easy enough. Next, he would have to distract the guards long enough for him to escape. Lucky for him, he had the perfect jutsu needed. It was simple, really. He just created a shadow clone, which he learned by watching his father teach his siblings. The shadow clone, after being created, immediately ran to alert its presence to the guards. 5 seconds is all it took for the two guards to completely abandon their posts and chase after the clone. With them gone and the clone under orders not to dispel until it had bought enough time, Naruto rushed out of the front gates of Konoha, leaving the place in which he was never acknowledged. Chapter 2. Forest in Fire Country. Naruto was walking down the forest still in the land of fire. It had been 1 month since he had left Konoha, and he already viewed it as an improvement. As he moved through the woods, he heard the sound of metal clashing. Sneaking towards the sound, he peeked from behind the tree and watched as a group of bandits were attacking a blue-haired woman all at once. As they attacked, she struck them down with her sword, which was long, thin silver blade with a golden handguard. Moving quickly from opponent to opponent, she ended up with spinning quickly with her sword, slicing anyone who came near her. Naruto watched in awe at her skill. After the last bandit had fallen, she looked around and then fell to a knee, panting. As she regained her breath, she looked up towards the tree that Naruto was hiding behind. She sighed as Naruto quickly stopped peeking and hid behind the tree. With his eyes closed, he kept quietly chanting, "Please, have you not seen me? Please, have not seen me." You know, if you want to hide better, it might be best not to talk out loud, the blue-haired sword wielder suggested, interrupting his chant. Opening his eyes, Naruto got a better look at the woman. She was about 6 feet tall, slim, and had long blue hair that reached past her shoulders but was tied in a single braid. She is tall. 6 feet. Dang. A gray skin-tight jumpsuit covered her. She looked to be about 20. Her sword sat in its sheath on her hip. Finally, he looked into her eyes. He was shocked that he saw a warmth and kindness being directed towards him, as it was a new experience. He was silent as she smiled at him. "So, kid, what are you doing out here?" she asked softly. Nothing really. I was just walking, that's all," Naruto replied quickly, which made the woman roll her eyes. "You know, kid, you're a very bad liar, but I guess I'll let it slide for now. So, tell me, kid, what's your name?" she asked. Naruto pouted a little at being called a liar, but responded to her question, sensing no malice from her. "My name is Naruto." The brunette? I think he meant brunette. The brunette giggled at his pout. "Well, Naruto, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you," she said, holding out her hand. Naruto shook it, shaking the whole time. Sarah noticed this and decided to clarify everything. "Look, Naruto, what you saw, you don't have to worry about me doing to you. That, she said, pointing to the many bodies that lay behind her, was self-defense." Naruto nodded quickly. Though he was shaken up from seeing his first massacre, he was still in awe at her skill. As she started walking away, an idea came to mind. "Teach me," Naruto yelled out, which made Sarah stop in her tracks. Looking at the ground, she was silent for a whole minute before turning around to answer him. "Why?" she asked, looking into his eyes to determine if his answer would be truthful or a lie to appease her. Naruto looked at her and replied with fire in his eyes. "I want to be acknowledged, respected, and appreciated. I want to show everyone that I'm worth looking at," he answered, no longer just answering her but himself as well. Sarah crossed her arms in thought and picked up on what he said in his speech. "What about your parents, family, friends, home?" she asked, interested in his answer. Naruto clenched his fists, but his gaze never wavered. "I have no one that I can call a friend, and my village and so-called family refuse to even act like I exist. The way I see it, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain," he said with a smirk. Sarah looked at him for a long moment before laughing loudly. "Kid, I will admit that you've got guts to see someone kill a bunch of guys and then ask to join them," she responded with a smile. "Alright, kid, come on." Naruto smiled at his first genuine smile in a long time and rushed over to the woman. Time skip. 1 year. Forest in Fire Country. "You're putting too much force into it, and it's making you too slow," chastised Sarah as she fought blade to blade with her apprentice, Naruto. "Yeah, I know. I guess I'm just excited for tonight," he said with a smile before blocking a slash from his blue-haired teacher and jumping away from her. Sarah rolled her eyes at his remark. "I know, but for now you need to focus, because I could have been done killing you by now. You're better than this, so show me," she yelled, hoping it would get through to her student who had quickly become like a brother to her. "Fine then," he yelled back before gathering his katana in a reverse grip, smirking. Sarah pulled her sword near her face with a smirk as well, as the two prepared for a swordsman end. Faster than one could see, the two appeared on the opposite side of each other, not facing each other. Both held their stances until Naruto fell to his knees, with a slash across his bare chest. Sarah smiled before she unexpectedly fell with a weaker slash across her stomach that tore through her jumpsuit. "Aw, damn it, not again," Sarah shouted before going over to check her shirtless apprentice, who was catching his breath. Walking behind his kneeling form, she put her sword to his neck and whispered, "I win." Time skip, midnight. "Well, looks like it's about time," Sarah announced to Naruto, who was practically jumping up and down in excitement. Over the past year, the boy had grown. Now, the 11-year-old stood at 5 feet tall and was as muscular as an 11-year-old could be. He had learned a lot from Sarah, who was just one in line of legendary swordsmen. She was the 10th swordsman, and her title was the Aqua Knight, as her sword and herself grew more powerful in the water. When it came to sword skills, no one was near as good as one who received their title the way Sarah did. This line of swordsmen were always the best, and soon Naruto would join as the 11th swordman. Throughout the training, Naruto learned every special technique of each of the previous swordsmen in their unnamed group from Sarah, as she had learned from the 9th swordman. It took him very little time to learn all she knew, which reinforced Sarah's multiple conclusions that the boy was special. She taught him chakra control, sensing, and usage, but did not teach him jutsu. Sarah sighed and looked at Naruto, who was staring at the sky. Tonight, he would receive his individual sword, which would make him almost unbeatable in swordsmanship. When the clouds moved and the moon shined bright, Naruto felt something in him telling him to reach out. When he did, he watched as a flash blinded Naruto from seeing his outstretched hand. When the light died down, Naruto was holding his sword. His real sword. The blade itself was huge. It was about 5 feet in length and half as thick as Naruto's body. The blade was curved in a way that heavily resembled a crescent moon. The color of the blade was black, with the sharp side of the blade a shining silver. The handle was pure gold with a crescent moon in the center. As Naruto admired it, Sarah decided to speak up. "So, you've attained your title, Naruto. You now hold the Lunar Soldier, as it has been made evident by your blade," Sarah said seriously as Naruto paid close attention to her. "Now, you're probably wondering how you're holding something like that so easily," she said, smiling when he nodded yes. "That is your sword, and will answer to you and you only. It has perfect balance, and you will be able to fit in it any way because it answers to you. Now, unlike my sword, your sword is a defensive sword, as you can see by the shape and size," she explained. "I understand, Master," Naruto said as he kneeled, which shocked Sarah since she had never been called Master, just teacher or sis. Smiling, she told him to get up and follow her. As Naruto rose with his sword still in hand, he remembered what Sarah had told him about this moment and about summoning his sword. Smiling, he flicked his sword up into the sky and it vanished, waiting to appear when it was called upon again. He followed Sarah to a nearby lake. Sarah looked at him with proud eyes. "I knew you were special from the day I met you, Naruto. In this past year, I've watched you grow and I've taught you everything I know. Now, there is one thing left for me to give you," she said, smiling, and cut the right sleeve off her jumpsuit, revealing a tattoo of a dragon wrapped around her arm. Naruto watched as Sarah bit her thumb and rubbed the blood on the tattoo, which glowed and mist covered the ground and water. As the dragon began thrashing and the ground began shaking, Naruto watched as a giant dragon-like serpent rose from the water. The creature was bluish gray with an ocean blue head and piercing yellow eyes. Sarah smiled as she looked upon her summon, the serpent lord of the ocean, Leviathan. He was 3 times the size of Jiraiya, the Sannin summons Gamabunta, and could defeat even the mightiest Biju. Of course, the serpent had not revealed its full size, which would be too much for a lake to handle. The serpent moved its head down to meet the two. "Sarah, it has been a long time," Leviathan commented, as softly as a giant water serpent could. "Hello, old friend. I'm sorry for my absence, but it's time, she responded, with a small smile while Leviathan slowly nodded. Naruto was watching in awe of the greatness that was before him. He was brought out of his wonder by Sarah. Naruto, I would like for you to sign the water serpent contract, but only if you want to. Sarah smiled as she could tell he wanted to jump up in joy but stayed respectful in the presence of the great beast that watched the events that were to unfold. Nodding quickly, she instructed him to apply his blood to her tattoo in order to become a summoner. When he did, the tattoo glowed then disappeared off of her arm. But before Naruto could ask where it went, he felt a searing pain in his right bicep as the tattoo that was formerly on Sarah has transferred itself to Naruto's arm. Looking down, he regained his composure at seeing the tattoo on his arms. Does this mean that I'm a summoner? He asked expectantly. Sarah nodded. Leviathan then saw the need to explain the contract himself, so he turned his gaze solely on Naruto, who immediately focused on what the Serpent Lord had to say. The Water Serpent contract is one that cannot be held on a simple scroll, so we form our contract on the summoner's body. We are one of the most powerful creatures in existence, so you must summon us accordingly. We do not fight small skirmishes. Our abilities are not limited by water. We can also be summoned on land as well. You may summon us using the standard hand size for a summon, but it will cost you more chakra than most summons. We will only allow one summoner at a time, and the only way it can be passed on is willing by the current summoner. Now child, make the hand signs and summon your personal serpent. Naruto nodded and did as asked. Instead of smoke appearing, which was normal for summons, mist swarmed into a mini tornado, causing Naruto to look away. When he looked back, he was staring at a serpent about half the size of Leviathan, but looked almost identical to him. Greetings, I am Levius, son of Leviathan, and your personal summon, he said with a grin, revealing a mouth full of teeth that could cut through steel like a knife through butter. Hello, Levius. My name is Naruto, and I'm honored to be able to summon you, he said, both respectfully and excitedly, to the shocking amusement of the two serpents, who then left in a bed of mist, but not before looking up at the clouded sky. Naruto, right when Naruto was about to ask where they went, his senses went on alert and he jumped just in time as Sarah missed with her sword. Sarah, what are you doing? A confused Naruto yelled out. Sarah stood tall. Naruto, tonight you become the 11th swordman, the lunar soldier, and the water serpent summoner. In order to complete this, you must kill me in this battle, right here, right now, she responded as rain started to fall. Naruto stood there with tears in his eyes as the rain started falling. No, you're all I have. Without you, I'm all alone. I won't kill you. I refuse, he shouted, letting his tears run. Sarah hated to do this to Naruto. He was so innocent, yet she was going to thrust him into a cruel and unforgiving world with no one. But she would be damned if she didn't give her most precious person the strength to make it in this world. Naruto, you must fight me with everything you have in order to attain your full potential. Once you do, then I will know that you will be safe. I know you don't want to do this, and I'm sorry for thrusting you into this, but it must be done, she said, crying. Now fight me with everything you have, or I'll never forgive you, she yelled and ran towards him. Listening to her reasoning strengthened his resolve, and he called his sword. When the blade appeared in his hand, he ran towards Sarah, and the two blades clashed. Fighting with everything they had, the two slashed at each other as the rain fell harder. While Sarah was faster, Naruto had reach and power. As the two fought, Naruto drove Sarah away from the water, which would have given her a huge advantage, and further into the forest. Eventually, the two came to a standstill, holding their blades against each other, but Sarah twisted her body to land a strike at his leg, forcing him down. Well, I guess you won't be able to beat me. Shame. Guess I'll have to look for someone else, she said, frowning disappointingly, but the frown was replaced with a small smile at her student's next words. Look up, teacher, he responded. When Sarah looked up, she saw the full moon and knew it was over. The next thing she felt was a mix of pain and pride as she looked down to see Naruto's blade driven into her chest. As she fell, Naruto caught her and laid her down. Naruto watched as the life left his teacher's eyes. Sarah died with a smile, but it was little consolation. Naruto didn't fight the tears that came and repeatedly cursed himself and Sarah that night. When morning arrived, Naruto left the battle scene with a heavy heart. Sarah was given an ocean burial by Naruto and the water serpent Leviathan. Now, it was time for Naruto to return to Konoha. And that's where I'm gonna end it, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed. Check out my second channel. I'm gonna be posting stuff that I can't post on here because it won't get monetized on there. And get this to 500 likes if you want to see this series continue. Thank you all so much for watching, and roll the outro.
Wanted a bitch who was on the move, but you on a goddamn late. Got that one in my bed and she just wanna sleep. Fucking up all of the sheets. She only wake up to eat. Do this shit every week. Like, why you do that? Crying, you wanna be great, but sleeping until the next day. Why you do that? Got that much in the bank. We go out, she order the steak. Why you do that? Can't